Just so everyone knows, I'm just waiting for the go-ahead from Catcher to tell me when the live stream has started. Okay, board members, it seems as if the live stream is ready to go. So, Luke, if you want to, let me just start by saying for the public that is watching the live stream right now, the State Board of Education, we're having issues with the phone service in the boardroom, which operates it goes hand in hand with our live stream. So we apologize for the delay in start time. And hopefully you're safe and healthy with your family at home. And it's 10:16. So Luke, why don't we, or President Narducci, why don't we call to order and roll call?
Thank you, Executive Director, and welcome. Let's start our meeting at 12:16 and have a call to order and roll call.
Thank you. Member Baker.
Here.
Member Broussard.
Here.
Member Burton.
Here.
Dr. Chang.
Here.
Superintendent Hoffman.
Here.
Member Kay.
Here.
Dr. Mack.
Here.
Member Luis.
Present.
Member Wellborn.
Here.
Dr. Kaur.
Here.
President Narducci.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that, and we'll move on with our meeting. I have several items that I just want to discuss before we move into the business. First, on behalf of the Arizona State Board of Education, I'd like to thank Governor Ducey and Superintendent Hoffman for your continued collaboration, communication, and leadership during these unprecedented times. Second, I would like to address the schools. Thank you for ensuring our Arizona students are receiving the services they need, especially to those school staff members who are providing meals to our most vulnerable populations. In addition, our educators who at this time were thrown a curveball and worked tirelessly to ensure our students are still receiving educational opportunities while our schools are closed. Thank you for your creativity and determination to figure out these things as we move along. Third, I want to thank our state legislators, especially Representative Udall, Senator Allen, and the staff for working tirelessly to draft and get through a bill that addresses important topics of concern so that our education community can focus on what's most important, our kids and our state. Fourth, I want to have a word to all our K-12 students. You are a great generation, educated with technological abilities that transcend past generations. With your talent and desire, we can make the rest of the school year work and may even provide different approaches to assess education in the future. To all our students, please stay home, stay healthy, and stay connected through April 30th. Then fifth, a big thank you to our ASBE staff. You've been absolutely professional, efficient, and dedicated through these times. And lastly, I want to thank all of our board members for your dedication to our service to our state and our K-12 public school system, and for being available and flexible during these times. Board members, today we are called to action. I would like for us to be a united board and provide the guidance that is needed for our schools. Director Williams, that's my report. However, Superintendent Hoffman, I would like to turn over some time to you if you would like to say a few words.
Thank you, President Narducci. I, first of all, greatly appreciate your remarks and want to echo many of the things that you've shared as well. I'm very grateful for our state leadership coming together during this difficult time, including also our state legislators for their unanimous support for all the policies that we needed to be as successful as possible and to provide the best services possible to our education community. As everyone saw, yesterday was a difficult announcement for us to make to announce that all public and charter schools will remain closed for the remainder of the school year. But I wanted to take that opportunity yesterday also during my remarks in the press conference to highlight all of the amazing work that is continuing to happen within our education community. I've just been so impressed and inspired by our teachers, educators, our students who have really stepped up and who have really risen to this occasion. And this is, as we all know, this is unprecedented times. This is very challenging times for all of our families and all of our communities, not just in Arizona, but across the country. So I'm just very grateful for everyone who has been stepping up and who has been thinking creatively and innovatively of how we can best continue to serve our students. I also wanted to be clear that because I did receive a couple of questions yesterday about how does the governor's new executive order, how does that affect our school closures and our services, and what does this mean? So I just want to be really clear that while our schools are closed in the technical way, that our buildings are not operational in the same way, and we don't have children in the classrooms in the same way, that let's be clear that instruction is still continuing, and also many services, including meal services, special education services. So I just want to be clear that those educational opportunities are continuing and should be continuing in any way possible. And I know that looks very different from community to community, but I'm just very appreciative for everyone who has been working to continue to serve our students and their families during this time. I also want to point everyone to our website on our Department of Education website, which is azed.gov. We have a COVID-19 resources page that we have been updating daily. We have a ton of resources on there. Just to name a few, we have a pretty thorough section on special education considerations, which I know has been one of our hot topics that educators have been asking us about. We have resources on things like school meals, childcare. We also have social emotional supports, lots of frequently asked questions that we have been fielding. So we wanted to make sure for people to access that. We've posted some resources in Spanish for our Spanish-speaking families. And we've covered a lot of different areas. So that hopefully this resource page can be helpful for our teachers, our educators, our principals, superintendents, as well as families and our community members. I also want to just end by saying thank you so much to our teams in the Department of Education. Again, just been so impressed. Mostly we're telecommuting, not almost everyone in the department's telecommuting at this time. But so although our work also looks very different during this time in terms of our agency work, we are very much still open for business. We are I know I've seen our teams really stepping up, thinking creatively about how we can best serve our schools. And I'm just very grateful for all of our teams in ADE for really stepping up again and providing so much support for our schools and for our state. So I just wanted to end on that note.
Thank you, Superintendent Hoffman. Appreciate you very much, and as well as your department. With that, we'll go to item 2, and I'll turn it over to Director Williams.
Thank you, President Narducci. Members of the board, we have received 24 public comments, of which I will read into the record. So if you just mute your phones, and I will take them one at a time. The first public comment comes from Arizona Alt Ed Consortium. President Narducci, Vice President Core, Superintendent Hoffman, esteemed members of the board. On behalf of the Arizona Alternative Education Consortium, we just want to say thank you for your hard work and perseverance during these difficult times. We appreciate all you do for our schools. Thank you very much. Respectfully, the Arizona Alternative Education Consortium. The second call to the public is from the Arizona School Administrators, Executive Director Mark Jordanstad. Members of the Arizona State Board of Education, thank you for your leadership of Arizona's public schools during these challenging times. Your service is appreciated. On behalf of the Arizona School Administrators, I urge the board to take the following actions at its special meeting on Tuesday, March 31st, 2020. Adopt the draft minimum course of study and competency requirements for the 2019-2020 school year as presented in item 3A. Our high school seniors have already lost much of what makes the final year of high school special. Let's not punish them with potential loss of credits and high school diplomas. Approve the form in agenda item 3B for use by schools and districts to attest to the provision of educational opportunities during school closures. Thorough without being unwieldy, it provides the information required. Approve agenda item 3C to hold schools harmless from the A through F accountability system in 1920 so educators can concentrate on meeting our students' academic and social emotional needs and not live in fear of punishment by the accountability system. Approve the request by Superintendent Hoffman and the Department of Education to waive the various requirements of the Every Student Succeeds Act regarding annual assessments. Let's free up our educators to concentrate on serving students during these last 8 weeks of the academic year. Finally, ASA wishes to acknowledge the extraordinary outreach and communication offered by the staff of the department and the board, working in conjunction with the various educational advocacy groups during the final days of the legislative session and the last 10 days of implementing the school closures. They have been a model of collaboration to the absolute benefit of the students and families of Arizona. Sincerely, Mark Jordanstad. Third public comment from a constituent, Chris Douglas, to whom it may concern. As a parent of the 2020 high school senior in the state of Arizona, I would like to ask that this board put on its next agenda the item for discussion, including public comment and volunteering of ideas for the commencement exercises of the 2020 graduating classes around the state of Arizona. Having read through several school districts' websites, it seems each district is coming up with their own ideas everywhere, from full commencement ceremonies to none at all, which I don't think would be appropriate. I think the ruling should come from your body and be equal for all of the 2020 students that work hard and earned the right to make that happen, even if it has to wait a while to take place. Thank you for your consideration. The fourth public comment comes from Emily Ann Gullickson. President Narducci and members of the State Board of Education. As students, teachers, and school leaders adapt to life under the COVID-19 emergency declaration, HB 2910 assigns you a number of critical decisions addressed in the emergency meeting board packet for March 31st, 2020. This letter responds to two of the proposed actions from the board. One, your responsibility to design an attestation that serves as evidence of what schools are doing to provide general education opportunities to students in this uncertain moment in their education. And two, the temporary rule to ensure graduating seniors are not unduly impacted by the educational lull brought on by efforts to slow the pandemic. While you cannot control the local effort related to educational opportunities, you can set expectations with some minor additions to items 3A and 3B. Specifically, the board can be clear that schools should use every practicable tool at their disposal to reach students, graduating seniors, and to attempt to know which ones are falling through the cracks. This student-centered approach not only requires clear parameters schools can consider in providing evidence of their efforts, the purpose of the attestation, but also help the state and schools assess the list that will soon be needed statewide to remediate and support students when the immediate COVID-19 dangers pass. With the extension of the school closure now to the end of the academic year, the attestation takes on a new importance that will have lasting impacts. In brief, I suggest changes to items 3A and 3B on your agenda as follows. Suggested amendments to the rule proposed in 3A. Subsection B, line 3. The bill requires schools to provide educational opportunities. It does not exempt seniors, and this must be clear in the rule. What those opportunities look like remains at the discretion of the LEA. However, it should be more than simply reviewing prior content for the next 2 months and take into consideration the fact that these will be the last touch points with these students in their K-12 academic career. Other changes in subsection B. Ensure that the board materials are clear that students can and should do everything in their power to provide the required educational opportunities, even if it means reaching outside of their school or system to meet this bar. Again, this does not change the broad discretion provided to LEAs in the bill. It does, however, set expectations more broadly than the two options in the original draft. This could be important to seniors hoping to and deserving of receiving their high school diploma in the coming weeks. In subsection C, change from may to shall. Without this change, schools could opt to not graduate seniors who are on track to meet the minimum course study and competency requirements prior to the school closure, even if the school failed to provide those seniors any educational opportunities. While we wish you had been empowered to ensure all students were clearly credited, I suggest a change to this rule that can at least support seniors using the full breadth of your authority. Given that high school graduation signals true college and career readiness, the board should permit rolling graduations, starting with students who have demonstrated mastery and are already connected to what comes next, even though they originally did not opt in for the Grand Canyon diploma. By graduating truly prepared students early, LEAs can focus more time, resources, and efforts on students without that pathway. Suggested amendments to proposed attestation in item 3B support the following. Organizations in Arizona and across the country have been offering resources for parents whose children are learning from home. What these efforts look like vary and are at different levels of implementation across our state. However, it takes only a cursory look at Facebook groups, chat rooms, and other online communities to see that they are being broadly utilized. These efforts to share materials, lessons, and resources by families and students should be recognized. While the board cannot require any of the options set out in the attestation, it can and must use attestation to determine a level of effort by the LEAs. To do that with fidelity, the information submitted must be more robust so that the public can determine to what extent the effort was made. By recognizing more avenues for meeting the educational opportunities mandate, We honor choices already being made by students and family and provide support to schools helping all of their students learn from home for the remainder of the school year. By definition, an attestation is proof of an action. It is not intended to only be a piece of paper to check a regulatory box. Adding questions to ensure that the state has a handle on how many students are being reached by the educational opportunities is key to an attestation. This is the most important change I suggest herein. While the law gives schools maximum flexibility in defining educational opportunities, it will be important as a state to understand what those opportunities were, to whom they were or were not provided, and why. Given that schools are now the remainder of the academic year, and it remains critical that schools educate students at this time, it would be recommended that the board create a more robust reporting mechanism. If time does not allow for it to be done at this meeting, it should be done at the next board meeting so schools can begin to collect relevant data. The educational lift for students who fall behind in the coming months will be massive. To tackle it, the gap must be clearly understood. Without requiring reporting, there will be little data to make the attestations meaningful or to support students who fall through the cracks, even as most students deploy their best efforts to prevent that from happening. It will be nearly impossible to define supports for students by school, region, system, or statewide if we do not have a handle on which students were reached and by what method. Arizona has remained one of the top states for academic gains in the country, according to the nation's report card. It is critical we do not move backwards and must continue to keep high expectations for our students, especially those in our highest need communities in this uncertain time. Parents are rightfully counting on district and charter schools to provide curriculum, instruction, and progress monitoring for their children over the next few months. Now is the chance for teachers to embrace their new autonomy, schools to use this runway to innovate, and systems to embrace flexibility in order to deliver the highest quality education they can. Thank you for your consideration of these proposed changes. Emily Ann Gullickson, member of the public. In addition, there's 2 attachments to Emily Ann Gullickson's public comments. And as just a notation that I forgot at the beginning, all of the public comments received for this meeting can be found in the Assembly document under item 2. Item 2, call to the public. So anyone who's listening on the live stream, you can go to item 2 and pull up all the public comments that I'm reading today. This public comment. Dear Arizona State Board of Education, the Arizona Education Association, AEA, thanks the State Board of Education and its members for taking swift action to provide guidance to local education agencies as we proceed through this global health crisis. We applaud your inclusion of education stakeholders in this process and believe various perspectives represented have provided everyone involved a deep understanding of the unprecedented task we are facing. The AEA is committed to ensuring all Arizona students have equitable educational opportunities, especially during a time of school closures. We anticipate deeper collaboration with parents and more successful outcomes of students if local education agencies adopt an inclusive decision-making model as they face the challenge of transitioning to distance learning. Specifically, governing boards, district and site administrators should ensure current classroom teachers, student support specialists, and educational support professionals are an integral part of any decisions regarding student learning during school closure time. The AEA believes during this time of trauma in the United States, our efforts should be grounded in protecting the mental and physical well-being of all students. Similarly, we believe this focus should be brought to the table when decisions are made concerning the development and delivery of all educational opportunities for our students. As the current health crisis progresses, local educational agencies will require flexibility to modify their submission for their attestation documentation. Again, this is where we ask for the involvement of the educators in the schools who are closest to the students and their families who are deeply vested in helping their students be successful. To restate, we thank the State Board of Education members and staff for the diligent and inclusive nature of their work during these difficult times. Our hope is that local education agency leaders model it for reaching decisions that impact all of our students. Sincerely, Marisol Garcia, Vice President, Arizona Education Association. The 6th public comment comes from the Superintendent of Phoenix Union High School District and a group of other superintendents that are not listed. This morning, a group of superintendents from across the state representing a wide and diverse range of communities met to discuss the most proactive ways to prepare all schools and school systems to comply with mandatory school closures, yet also proactively continue educational opportunities for students for the remainder of the 1920 school year. We thank you for the opportunity to express our gratitude as well as inform any future state-level policy, legislation, and rulemaking needed to navigate statewide school closures and subsequent reopening as a result of the COVID-19 outbreak. We appreciate the State Board of Education's current stance and many of the issues facing our schools. We want to take this opportunity to reiterate our shared beliefs and recommendations moving forward. Flexibility. We support the direction that each local education agency will be allowed to attest to the Arizona Department of Education its effort to continue educational opportunities based on the capacity and resources available in each respective community. Flexibility in delivering educational opportunities is paramount, as district and community resources, connectivity, access to devices, staffing vary so greatly in our state. We believe that providing flexibility enables each LEA to develop and execute a plan that is most appropriate for its community. We discussed the possibility of combining questions number 8 and number 16 on the attestation form in the event that an LEA's initial selection does not work for all students and a change to the educational plan is necessary. In addition, we also discussed the possibility of only having a hybrid option with an opportunity to add information from number 16 again connected to question number 8. In addition, we are supportive of granting LEA's flexibility on credit issuance. Please see the attached document outlining our recommendations to address high school graduation concerns. Funding. We support the continued efforts of the SBE and ADE to work with the United States Department of Education on its 4th legislative package titled the Education Stability Act. There are and will continue to be unplanned costs school districts will occur now and into the 2021 school year. These will likely include compensatory costs for students with special education needs and Section 504 under the Individual Disabilities Act, transportation, and the school nutrition program. Assessment. We support the language in House Bill 2910 and that 1819 letter grades will become 1920 letter grades. We also support the exemption from ARS 15-241.01D, which requires schools with 3 consecutive D letter grades receive an F. In addition, we support the ADE request a federal waiver from the U.S. Department of Education for all testing. Fluidity. New information as well as national and state guidelines are released almost daily. The ability for LEAs to make frequent changes will likely be necessary for LEAs and their schools to successfully complete the final weeks of the 1920 school year. In summary, we will continue to discuss immediate actions, steps, and recommendations that we feel are necessary to ensure not only a smooth conclusion to the 1920 school year, but also a successful launch of the 2021 school year. Excuse me. Recommendations to address graduation concerns for the Arizona high school class of 2020. Superintendents of high school students from across the state of Arizona have convened and are making the following 5 recommendations in order to address the current concerns related to high school graduation and college admissions for the class of 2020. Recommendation number 1, acceptance letters. It is recommended that no community college, university, or other post-secondary university be able to revoke an acceptance letter previously administered to a graduating senior subject to successful completion of school year 1920. Recommendation number 2, grading. It is recommended that Arizona adopt a better but not worse grading policy. This policy would have the following effect. Grades are frozen in time on the date in which schools close. From the date of initial closure through the end of the regularly scheduled school year, students are to engage in learning opportunities in order to increase knowledge and may make up missed work or retake exams. At the end of the regularly scheduled school year, teachers of record may update grades to reflect new learning and related work exam retakes. Grades can only improve. They may not get worse. Recommendation number 3, issuing second semester credit. It is recommended that upon successful completion, high schools are given the authority to offer full credit for the second semester courses, even if all essential standards are not covered as a result of school closures. Recommendation number 4, waiver of all non-academic graduation requirements. It is recommended that in order to guarantee that all seniors who are eligible to graduate prior to closure and that all seniors who completed their assignments and passed their courses after the school closures remain eligible to graduate, any state level requirements such as civics exams and ECAP shall be waived. Recommendation number 5, transcript validation. It is recommended all transcripts, even with credits being issued for courses that did not cover all essential standards, are deemed valid and may be used for final matriculation into post-secondary institutions. Public comment number 7. This is from Brian. I'd like to take a moment to express my appreciation for the efforts of the public school teachers and staff members in Arizona, specifically in Sierra Vista. I have 2 older children that have gone through Sierra Vista school system and 2 others that are currently in 4th and 8th grades. The one constant that I have noticed from the teachers and other faculty is they truly care, and they always have. Like many parents, my wife and I have children who were very different, meaning we had different experiences in terms of education with all of our kids. No matter how good or challenging our children were as students, the care demonstrated by faculty and staff was always tremendous. That care was most noticeable on March 24th in the midst of a global pandemic. I watched as teachers and staff at Huachua Mountain Elementary and Joyce Clark Middle Schools guided traffic and hustled, some running, from one car to the other, to make sure the children of hundreds of parents jammed into this tiny parking lot had the paperwork, Chromebooks, etc. necessary to ensure their education would continue. I cannot imagine the hours of preparation that it took for these folks to adjust from live classroom learning to an online environment. They moved to an online learning format in a matter of days, sacrificing their own time and spring holiday to get it done for the sake of the kids. These people are truly heroes in our community and should be recognized as such. I am certain there are hundreds of other parents that feel the same way. We recognize everyone who has done a little extra for the sake of the community during a challenging time. However, when we get past this and move back to a state of normalcy, let's not forget the work of our great public educators and public school staff members. Letter number 8 is from the Arizona School Boards Association. Item 3B, presentation, discussion, and possible action to approve the manner in which local education agencies attest to providing education to students during the closure. President Narducci, Superintendent Hoffman, and members of the board. The member districts of the Arizona School Boards Association, as all board members are aware, are dealing with an unprecedented set of challenges in the face of the closure of their schools in an effort to fight the COVID-19 pandemic. Under the best conditions, turning the state's entire public education system into a distance learning model would take a lot of careful and thorough planning. Instead, districts have been forced through this transition in 2 weeks, making do only with the capacity and infrastructure available on March 15th. Accountability is important, and schools should be able to outline the strategies they will use to continue providing educational opportunities to students. However, it is imperative that Arizona school districts, the majority of which are small, rural, and already understaffed, be able to use much of their time and energy as possible tending to the needs of students. ASA believes the proposed attestation form as presented by board staff strikes the appropriate balance between gathering the appropriate information and the imposition of additional administrative burden. The sudden onset of this crisis has underscored what many of us in public education have long understood. Schools are centers of the community that have value far beyond that which can be gleaned from assessments or data points. Our primary focus at this time should be letting school districts do what they do best with a minimum of interruption, connecting their students with opportunities, providing as much stability and predictability as possible, and demonstrating that no matter what, their schools care about them both personally and academically. Approving the straightforward, simple attestation before you today will allow schools to comply with the law with a minimum of distraction from their primary mission during this crucial time. Respectfully submitted, Chris Cotterman, Director of Governmental Relations, Arizona School Boards Association. Comment number 9. This is from Kimberly Peasley, President representing the Arizona Council for Exceptional Children. With regards to providing flexibility to public schools for special education programs, including alternative modes of service delivery, without being given a relaxation of timelines from the DOE's Office of Special Education Programs, PEAs won't be able to get relief from meeting all of the IDEA mandated timelines and child find responsibilities from age 3 through grade 12, and that includes referrals for initial evaluations. Areas of flexibility to PEAs that can be granted by the state, which would be helpful, are: number one, identify the process for enrolling students who move within Arizona districts. Should they stay with their previous district? Number two, with regards to the additional summer school funding, insert wording to require financial support for summer programming for special education. Number three, provide relief to PEAs from 60-day time limit imposed by ADE ESS on corrective action plans applied to PEAs. Number four, it is our hope that ADE will enforce compensatory service requirements for students who demonstrate regression and IEP goals only. Therefore, those who maintain or demonstrate progress on IEP goals during COVID-19 pandemic and school closures will not be entitled to compensatory services. Thank you for your consideration. Kimberly Peasley, President of Arizona Council for Exceptional Children. Number 10. This comment is from Eric M. Francis. To the Honorable Arizona State Board President and board members. My name is Eric M. Francis. I've been an educator for over 20 years in the state of Arizona. I also worked at the Arizona Department of Education for 4 years in both the Office of English Language Acquisition Services and the Title I unit. I currently provide consultation to Arizona K-12 schools with the completion of the integrated action plans they must submit to ADE to apply for and receive their federal entitlement funds under the policies and provisions of Title I, Title II, 3, and 4 of the Every Student Succeeds Act of 2016. As I write this, the number who have been diagnosed with COVID-19 has exceeded 1,000, and 20 have succumbed to the virus. This number will most likely have increased by the time of today's board meeting. Both federal and state agencies have demonstrated flexibility and sensitivity in regards to deadlines and compliance requirements for filling documentation. Unfortunately, the same cannot be said for the Arizona Department of Education. Prior to the pandemic, ADE set a date of May 1st for all schools applying for the federal entitlement funds under the policies and provisions of Titles 1 through 4 of ESSA. This requirement includes the completion of the grant application inside grants management, a district and site level integrated action plan, even if the local education agency only has a single site, a comprehensive needs assessment that addresses 6 different standards with 20 to 50 questions schools and its stakeholders must answer for each standard, and at least 3 fishbone documents that serves as evidentiary documentation for how and why the LEA and its school or single site will need and spend their federal entitlement funds. I am attaching the CNA Excel worksheet and fishbone documents for review. According to ADE, LEAs applying for federal entitlement funds for fiscal year 21 must complete all these requirements by May 1st. According to ESSA section 1114B6, a school-wide program shall be based on a goal that takes into account information on the academic achievement of children in relation to the challenging state academic standards, particularly the needs of those children who are failing and are at risk of failing to meet the challenging state academic standards and any other factors as determined by the local educational agency. However, ESSA does not require LEAs to complete a comprehensive needs assessment produced by a state education agency as the one distributed by ADE. Also, ESSA does not require LEAs to complete and submit fishbone documents along with their CNA to justify how they will spend and use their federal entitlement funds. Also, ESSA does not require LEAs to submit their applications by the May 1st deadline for along with completed their IAPs, CNA, and fishbone documents. On March 17th, 2020, at the start of the recent pandemic caused by the outbreak of COVID-19, I emailed Superintendent Hoffman and her leadership team offering my assistance and support to the agency, its schools, and its stakeholders in the time of crisis. I also requested that ADE reduce and rescind the requirements of the Education and School Excellence Division have set. I provided logical, emotional, and ethical appeals for my request, pointing out how stretched thin and distressed the schools and staff already are professionally and personally without being concerned about submitting compliance documents for a deadline that was set prior to the pandemic occurring. On March 18, 2020, I received an email from Ms. Kate Wright, the Associate Superintendent of High Academic Standards for Students for the Department, for the ADE, responding on behalf of the superintendent and our leadership team. She informed me that the May 1st, 2020 grant deadline remains. However, we are closely monitoring the situation and will provide additional guidance as soon as available. She also informed me we are aware of potential implications and have sought guidance from the U.S. Department of Ed. I asked Ms. Wright to cite the federal policy, state statute, or state board direction that requires all LEAs to submit their compliance documentation and their application for federal entitlement funds by March 1st. Ms. Wright responded in an email on Thursday, March 19, 2020, stating, as a state education agency, the Arizona Department of Education has the authority to determine deadlines for LEA submission of federal grant applications and materials. If the ADE has, as Ms. Wright said in her email, the authority to determine deadlines for LEA submission of federal grant applications and materials, and this is not required by the United States Department of Education, why does the Arizona Department of Education refuse to demonstrate the same flexibility and sensitivity of other federal and state government agencies who have reduced, rescinded, or revised their deadlines and requirements? My concern is that LEAs in their schools will struggle to complete the required application and paperwork by the May 1st deadline and will end up creating something just to meet compliance. The ADE wants LEAs in their individual schools to develop integrated action plans through a process that involves reviewing and evaluating current year's data and developing collaboratively with next year's IAPs with stakeholder representatives from the community. However, the people of Arizona have been directed to stay home and practice social distance. The result of this is the responsibility will fall upon one person to complete the GRAP application, the IAP, the CNA, and the fishbone documents just to be in compliance, which completely defeats and goes against the intent and purpose of this application and planning process required by ADE. With 3 months of school being canceled, there should be some adjustment, flexibility, and sensitivity from ADE with deadline and paperwork requirements. Understanding that the State Board reviews and accepts the ADE recommendations to the U.S. Department of Education and their annual update to the ESSA plan, I'm requesting that you please review these requirements and provide direction to ADE on adjusting deadlines for the federal entitlement grants to assist schools in this time of duress. Our educators and administrators are focused on providing resources and serving our students academically, socio-emotionally, and equitably through this transition from site-based to home learning. These dedicated and hardworking school leaders and their staff should not have to be concerned whether they are meeting arbitrary deadlines or completing non-essential documents that are not legally required under ESSA. Thank you for your time and your leadership in these difficult times. Eric Francis. The two attachments for his public comment are in Assembly as well, and Ketcher is going to public comment meeting now.
President Narducci, Superintendent Hoffman, and members, as a reminder, as I take over here, that all of these public comments are on agenda item number 2 on Assembly. So we're on agenda public comment number 11, and this comes from Dr. Gregory Spencer. Dear Superintendent Hoffman and Arizona board members, during this time of national crisis, on behalf of footsteps2brilliance.com, I wanted to extend 100% free access and donation of our birth through 3rd grade bilingual literacy and parent engagement program. Our program will be made available at no cost to all schools, districts, students, and parents in Arizona for 90 days from the time that a school or district signs up for our platform, as many districts are now doing around the country. Details and info, and there's a link provided. We're aligned to Arizona state standards and are currently working with districts and counties as we start to expand to our 31st state, Arizona, in late 2019. We are currently working with Co-Chief County Superintendent Jackie Clay, San Simon Unified School District Superintendent Tresky, Bisbee Unified School District Superintendent Woody, Salt River Schools, Dr. Cynthia Clary, Superintendent, Combs USD, Dr. Greg Wyman, Superintendent, Chris Knutson, Superintendent with Florence Unified School District, just took advantage of this free offer for his district and community. Benefits. Number 1, we provide access to our virtual blended learning and app-based literacy, reading, writing, spelling, comprehension, vocabulary, math, science, STEM, social, emotional learning, character development, social studies, and more. 2, comprehensive digital pre-K to 3rd grade curriculum in both English and Spanish for schools. Number 3, access our services 24/7, both online or offline. Just download our app. Wi-Fi is not needed. Number 4, access our learning games on any computer, smartphone, or tablet. Number 5, play with Footsteps to Brilliance, just 15 minutes per day to see measurable results. Number 6, we will provide data reporting on the success of your students' engagement. Number 7, free community and family access will be provided to your families to keep everyone engaged. Number 8, we're aligned to Arizona state standards and the Common Core for accountability and equity. Feel free to inform your districts of this opportunity and post it to your website. I'm happy to speak with anyone about this no obligation offer. Thank you for the arduous work that you're all doing to serve our students, families, and educators. Thanks, Greg, Dr. Gregory Spencer, VP of Footsteps to Brilliance.com. The 12th public comment comes from Yoli Martinez. Hello, good morning, and thank you for your time. I know that these are very difficult times for everyone and that times have changed. However, our high school seniors have worked very 14 to 15 years of their lives, some while helping their families and holding a job at the same time for the last few years. It would be cruel if we did not find a way to celebrate their success thus far in their lives. For some, it may even leave a mark saying all you've worked for tirelessly in the past years means nothing. There must be a way, a time to celebrate their success and have a graduation for them, whether it's at the stadium, but just invite the 2 parents only or give 2 tickets and continue to keep the social distancing. Class of 2020, the first class of this decade, cannot begin/mark their adulthood with a senior trip, senior prom, and without a graduation. I say this as my daughter's new and unused, non-returnable, non-refundable prom dress sits in her closet. Thank you, Yoli Martinez. Public comment number 13 comes from a student, and so we will not include the student's name in the public comment. A 3.8 GPA, 10 honors classes, 7 AP classes, cheer, sand volleyball, student council, key club, DECA, spirit club, model UN, HOSA, competitive government, AP ambassador, and senior class president. This is just a list of some of my accomplishments as a student at Marcos de Niza. Myself, along with all of my peers, have worked extremely hard for all for one day that could just be taken from us by this vote. I am asking that you please postpone graduation for the class of 2020. Give my peers and I a sense of hope. So many kids in this class are the first to graduate from their family, have overcome things that not many kids struggle with daily, worked harder than they thought they could just to prove everyone wrong. Graduation isn't a small moment that should be held on a computer screen. Graduation is a celebration of all the hardships that we overcame and a demonstration of our devotion to an education. Please give us the chance to be seen and do not now write us off. Every kid wants to walk across that stage because it is more likely than not that it is the only one they will walk across in their lifetime. Please don't take away from the hardworking, dedicated, and invested young adults at Marcos de Niza. Give us hope that somebody is rooting for us. Thank you for your time. Public comment number 14 also comes from a student. Hello, my name is student's name, and I am a senior at Mountain Point High School. 12 years, 144 months, 626 weeks, 4,380 days, 105,120 hours, 6,307,200 minutes, 378,432,000 seconds. The class of 2020 has waited to walk across the stage. I, as well as the rest of the class of 2020, understands the importance of social distancing and the seriousness of COVID-19. Yet the class of 2020 walked the halls of their school on March 6, 2020, not knowing that we were saying goodbye to our favorite teachers and the best memories, not knowing that we wouldn't get a prom or senior week. The last month has been a month of loss for many people. Loss of friendships because we don't see them anymore, and for the class of 2020, mainly the loss of what was supposed to be the best year of our high school lives. For the past month, the class of 2020 has been made fun of because we got our senior year taken away. Classes of 21 through 24 are getting a break while we are fighting for what we worked for. For a majority of the families, it is a milestone. For some families, this may be the first and only graduation they get to experience. There are teen parents who made a mistake and still went to high school, all for their diplomas. Please let the seniors have this one thing, to see the teachers who changed their lives and to walk across with the friends they stressed about grades and finals with, and the friends and family who pushed them to be great and to get to that stage. Thank you, class of 2020 senior. Public comment number 15 also comes from a student. To whom it may concern, hello, I'm student's name, a senior at Marcos de Niza High School. and I feel as well as the majority of the class of 2020 that we deserve a full graduation ceremony. We understand more than most the unfortunate circumstances for considering the ceremony be canceled or to take place online. However, we simply ask that you reconsider, at the very least, postponing the ceremony until it can be done in a safe and organized manner. Graduating is what every student dreams about after 20 years of dedication, as you well know. We simply ask that you not take this imperative milestones in our lives away from us. As a respected and hardworking class, we see this as a right to any student who has earned it, and would like to see that someone is fighting for our right to celebrate ourselves, our teachers, our classmates, and community that has aided this journey. Please consider the class of 2020 in mind, and with a heavy heart, thank you. Public comment number 16. To whom it may concern. First, I must say how sorry I am for all the trouble, difficult decisions, and confusion this COVID-19 pandemic has caused for Arizona schools. I worked for many years at my church, mentoring and disciplining teens, and know how important the final year of school is for students. I'm writing to you now, as I'm sure many others are, to stress how important a graduation ceremony is for seniors. Already, students have had to come to the realization that there will be no goodbyes, no yearbook signing, no prom, no end-of-year jitters, etc. Doing an online ceremony may sound like the best scenario given the circumstances, but these students deserve more. Postpone to give them a full ceremony and don't hold back any celebration. They deserve just as much of a celebration that the class before them had and the class after them will have. Give them a chance to say goodbye to their friends, their teachers, and a proper send-off into the new milestone of their life. Thank you for your time in this matter. It is in these times we truly understand the hard work and the love Arizona schools give to their community. Thanks. Public comment number 17 from Tina Barnes. Hello, my name is Christina Barnes. My son is a high school senior at MDN. Please do not cancel graduation. Thank you so much, Christina. Public comment number 18 again comes from a student. As to who it may concern, class of 2020 deserves a ceremony with friends, teachers, and most importantly, family. Over several years, we have experienced anxiety and many more symptoms over our grades and how people in our schools views us. We have put our personal issues to the side every single day at school and have kept going. As a jackrabbit at Mesa High School, I am proud to say I have made it to senior year. I will not give up now, no matter what, and please don't give up on our dreams. The dream to walk up on stage and get the diploma we have dreamt of our entire life. Yes, maybe it doesn't sound as interesting as a college graduation, but everyone at their point of life throughout graduating high school was the most important part of life. My parents worked so hard for me to be here, as did many parents. Please let us have our graduation that we deserve, even if it's put to another date when the world is okay. We can't let this take our graduation. We are strong and we will get through this virus. Thank you for listening. Sincerely, student's name. Public comment number 19, also from a student. To whom it may concern, my name is student's name. I am a senior at Betty Fairfax High School. I'm typing this letter in hopes that the district will help postpone our ceremony to another date. Whenever possible, I'm very aware of the circumstances, instead of just canceling it. Our proms have already been canceled. Our senior sunsets and tailgates as well. On behalf of my senior class, I'd like to state that we're all very hurt by the things going on right now, and it's not all because our senior year is ruined, but because our people, our friends, our family are getting sick or know people who are getting sick. We are scared and sad. We know not having a prom or a graduation ceremony isn't the end of the world, but it does mean a lot to us, and it could be a light to help this terrible year. I know families will be happy and proud to see their loved ones graduate and walk across the stage, even if it isn't until Christmas or even after. Personally, I'm very hurt by this because my dad, my number one supporter through all my years of school, passed away in a motorcycle accident last April. He was my best friend and my favorite person in the world. As you can imagine, I became very depressed and unmotivated after he died. I wasn't going to finish school. I was planning to switch to online classes, but my family made me change my mind. They encouraged me to finish right and reminded me how my dad wanted to see me walk across that stage. So I decided I'd go back to school only to walk across that stage for him to be proud of me and, of course, do it for myself. But he was the reason I came back to school. And I was looking forward to this moment. I wanted to have my family there. Well, I said, I did it, Dad. That moment is all I've had in my head these past 8 months of school. Picturing that moment was the only thing that kept me going, even when I thought I couldn't do it anymore. And I just wanted to give up and cry because I missed him so much. That moment was the only thing that encouraged and motivated me again. I ask kindly that you please reschedule our ceremonies, not only so I can still have my moment, but so all of us can have our moments that we work so hard for. Whether we did it for a lost loved one, for ourselves, or to provide someone, we would do it. Do not cancel our ceremonies, please. Public comment number 20. Us seniors are not going to be able to enjoy our prom nor any senior thing related, but all of us want to be able to walk that stage and get our diploma. So we plead with everyone, one of you that has felt that proudness in yourself when you walk that stage in your senior year, to let us 2020 seniors feel that proudness as well. It may not be, but we would still want to walk that stage to get our diploma sometime this month when the virus is cured and we can return to our lives. Public comment number 21 comes from Brianna Miller, who is Director of Operations at Herbal Active. Hello, I'm writing you this in support of postponing and not canceling class of 2020 graduations. In light of current events, our students left for a spring break not knowing that would be the last time they were on campus, last time they would see their favorite teacher, even the last time they would be with each other as a class. Since Ducey has closed schools till the end of the school year, our students are forced to face the uncertainty of not only the rest of high school, but also the uncertainty of what their next steps in life are. Most students look forward to their graduation, sharing it with their friends and family, and knowing that this could be the beginning of the rest of their lives and the first step into adulthood. COVID-19 has taken all that away from them and their families. Although the option of virtual graduation seems to be the easiest step this time as a parent, I urge you to look at the options of postponing graduation to later in the summer or even later in the year. Our kids have been working their whole lives basically for this one day of celebrating years of hard work, and the one day that is just about them. Please postpone graduation for the class of 2020 instead of canceling it or replacing it with a virtual option. A petition has begun to be signed by students and parents and reads, the coronavirus has destroyed the livelihoods and schedules of people everywhere. Children removed from schools, parents from work, and paranoia in the minds of everyone. Because of this paranoia and the scare of not being able to contain the virus, Governor Ducey has stated that the vast majority of schools in the state will not resume session until the fall of 2020. This has left many students in an awkward state. Primary school kids left with no materials that allow them to keep up in school and not fall behind as they prepare for the next grade. And high school seniors wondering if, after 15 years of schooling, they'll receive the thing they've been looking forward to since the very beginning, a graduation. These students have been deprived of so much, having been removed from school and forced to spend the last moments of their youth locked behind closed, quarantined doors. No prom, no senior sunrise, no grad night, no graduation, no memories to make with their friends before they go off to college. What a shame. But you can help. Signing this petition may get Governor Ducey and the Arizona State School Board's attention and hopefully get them to postpone graduation and not cancel their graduation. These students deserve the chance to celebrate their hard work. Let's make it happen. The petition has only been active for less than 12 hours and it's close to 500 plus signatures and growing. Please reconsider the current decision and give these kids a better beginning and ending to their 2020 and show them that they are worth the effort they have been putting in for years. Thank you, Bree Miller. Public comment number 22 also comes from a student. As a current senior at Westwood High School, it breaks my heart to know we will have to postpone our graduation ceremony, but I do still want to be able to finish school by May 21. College is stressful as it is, and making seniors continue out school longer than May can cause dents in their college life and applications as well. Many of us seniors really just want to continue on our lives as long as we get our diploma. Public comment number 23, again from a student. I am currently a senior at Mountain Point High School. My parents always taught me to stand up for what I believe in. I believe that class of 2020 deserves a graduation. I've been waiting for May 21st at 7 p.m. for as long as I can remember. I have been told that I would not be able to walk across that stage, and I deserve to prove them wrong. I promised my grandpa before he died that I would walk across that stage and make him proud. Postpone the graduation or have us stand 6 feet apart, I don't really care. But what I care about is hearing my name being called and my whole entire family screaming because of how proud they are of me at my graduation. Sincerely, a hurting class of 2020 senior. And last but not least is public comment number 24 from Alan Maccabee. Hello, my name is Alan Maccabee, and I would like to offer a tool for all the students trying to finish up the school year. I work for a local printing company that has supported Arizona for the past 40 years called Prisma. We have a plan to get educational materials in the 1.1 million Arizona students' hand before the 1st of May at $1 per student. At Prisma, we mail in huge volumes for many schools and government agencies. Our plan would be to produce a 48-page plus cover 8.375 by 10.875 booklet specific to each grade and mail it directly to each of the students' home addresses. All we need from you is the print-ready content, and we will get started. We have a 175,000 square foot plant fully staffed with 260 team members, and we are here to help. Prisma has been listed as an essential business by the executive order from the Arizona Governor Doug Ducey. We look forward to helping our kids in Arizona and ready to get started. Alan Maxby, VP Strategic Accounts, and some of his contact information. And so that concludes the public comments that we received pursuant to the notice, which had a deadline of 1 hour before the meeting. So with that, I think it's probably appropriate to move on, President Narducci, and also hand the mic back to Alicia.
Thank you. I'd first, before we move on, I'd like to thank both you, Catcher, and Director Williams for doing such a fine job in reading all the comments. Really appreciate that. And secondly, I know we don't comment on the comments, but I'd like to thank all those who did take the time to provide the public comment today, and just let them know that we consider them important and we take them as they are given, and they are well received, and we'll take them into consideration as we move along. And with that, we'll move on to item 3A, Director Williams, which would be the presentation, discussion, and possible action to adopt emergency rulemaking for R7-2-302.11, which is the minimum course of study and competency requirements during public health emergency in the 2019-2020 school year. Director Williams.
Thank you, President Narducci, Superintendent Hoffman, members of the board. Item 3A today is a draft rule that needs to be put in place due to House Bill 2910, which the governor did sign into law. A brief summary of the draft rule: it prohibits local education agencies from withholding diplomas or credit from students solely due to the closures. LEAs will retain discretion as to if a student should receive a high school diploma or academic credit, but lost instruction time due to school closure is not permissible as the sole reason to not issue a diploma or academic credit. And 2, allow LEAs to base decisions whether to issue academic credit or high school diploma on the educational opportunities offered during the school closure. Educational opportunities may include independent study or online instruction, but LEAs have the discretion to determine the types of educational opportunities and how often to offer them. If an LEA is unable to provide educational opportunities during the closures, then LEAs may issue credit or diplomas if the student was on track to earn the credit or diploma prior to the school closure. This may include the student's grades or scores on assessments, but is ultimately at the discretion of the LEA. The board encourages students to offer educational opportunities during the closures if at all possible within the rule. With that, I am available for questions, and I kept Ketcher in this office with me since he helped draft the rule.
And Alicia, thank you. Before we just open it up for questions, I would like to, in order to keep some mode of order and also not talk over one another, if we could just go down the board members and we could ask them individually for any comment, and if none, we can just proceed with each board member and then go to a motion.
Okay.
So I'd like to begin. Sure, would you? I'll go on mute, and then you can call each board member. Thank you.
Perfect. So this is just for discussion purposes. Member Baker, do you wish to add any discussion?
Member Baker, you have to take your mute off.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
I support the recommendation. Thank you.
Member Broussard, do you have any discussion?
No additional comments. Thank you.
Member Burton, do you have any discussion?
I support the recommendation.
Dr. Chang, do you have any discussion?
I support the recommendation as well.
Superintendent Hoffman, do you have any discussion?
I also support the recommendations and want to thank board staff for helping to come up with these policies.
Thank you. Member Kay, do you have any discussion?
No additional discussion. I do support the recommendation and also want to thank board staff for your work on this.
Thank you. Dr. Mack, do you have any discussion?
No discussion, just wanted to echo what everyone else has said. Thank you for all your work on this, and I support this recommendation.
Member Ruiz, do you have any discussion?
No, I'm in support, and I think for students who are worried, I think most high schools, I can't think of any high school who would not try to figure out an innovative way for young students to celebrate graduation. So, I think we can put that concern at ease.
Member Wellborn, do you have any discussion?
I have no questions. I'm in support of this recommendation, and I also echo all the points of gratitude expressed by my colleagues. Thanks.
Thank you. Dr. Kaur, any discussion?
No discussion. I'm fully supportive, and I think I'm at the end of the line, so I might even make a motion if you'd like me to.
Love you too.
Okay, I move to adopt the emergency rulemaking for minimum course of study and competency requirements during this public health emergency during the 2019-2020 school year.
Thank you, Dr. Kaur. We have a motion. Thank you for your comments, board members. Do I have a second?
This is Member Broussard, and I would really like to second that motion.
We have a second. Could we have, thank you, Member Broussard. Director Williams, could we have a roll call vote?
Yes, sir. Member Baker?
Yes.
Member Burton?
Yes.
Dr. Chang?
Yes.
Superintendent Hoffman?
Yes.
Member Kay?
Yes.
Dr. Mack? Dr. Mack?
Yes.
Member Ruiz?
Yes.
Yes.
Member Wellborn?
Yes.
Member Broussard?
Yep.
Dr. Kaur?
Yes.
President Narducci?
Yes.
Item 3A passes.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to item 3B, which is a presentation, discussion, and possible action to approve the manner in which local education agencies attest to providing education to students during the closure. Director Williams.
President Narducci, Superintendent Hoffman, members of the board. Item 3B is the attestation form that is required of ADE and SBE to create to determine the manner in which LEAs attest to offering educational opportunities. House Bill 2910 has specific language that says beginning on March 30th, each public school in the state shall offer students general education opportunities as determined by the public school for the duration of the statewide closure as a condition of the public school receiving continued formula funding based on the public school's 100th day average daily membership. The State Board of Education and the Department of Education shall determine the manner in which a public school attests that it is complying with this paragraph. Again, this form is a condition of the public school receiving continued formula funding based on the public school's 100th day average membership. To accomplish this, the Google form that is attached in Assembly, it's a PDF. Board staff, in collaboration with the department, has been able to come up with a form. LEAs would fill out the form for each school or LEA, and then on the form, the LEAs would attest to the educational opportunities they are providing to students via a signature by the LEA superintendent, school leader, or the designee. Ketcher and I have spoken that we believe April 15th would be a good date to tell schools to get this back to us by. It provides 2 weeks for schools to fill out the attestation form. And of course, board staff would assist in helping schools fill out the form, as well as helping to notify. We plan on sending out a board highlight form as soon as this meeting concludes. To notify schools that the form is ready. I'm sure we'll work with the department to get the notification out through their listservs, and then we will do follow-up as it's needed. So with that, I'm available for any questions, or we can go through a roll call again and have people ask questions.
Could we do that? Could we do that, Director
Sure.
Williams, just one by one this way, in case we have the discussion or some things need to be approached? We can then discuss that afterwards. Thanks.
Okay, sounds good. All right, Member Baker.
I no discussion other than to say that I think the form provides a good balance between providing accountability without being too burdensome, and I appreciate the work staff did on it.
Thank you. Member Broussard.
Not at this time.
Thank you. Member Burton.
I agree with the attestation form. I think my only comment is you have an April 15th deadline to sort of say what the districts, the LEAs plan to do, but there is such a large amount of resources available that I would hate for them to feel like they're restricted. And I'd also like to provide an opportunity for the board to collect data after the school year is ended to see what works, what methods, what resources have worked and what haven't worked. I'd like to hear after the end of the school year of what worked best for students and for teachers, and maybe an amendment to create a reporting mechanism to share the outcomes with the school, with the board after the fact. I think that attestation is great. I just think that we're collecting a lot of good information, and I would hate for it to not be used by the board.
Thank you, Member Burton. Let's go back to Baker, to Member Baker. Do you have any comments in regard to Member Burton's comments or Member Broussard?
I do, actually. Oh, sorry, Member Baker.
I have no comment.
Okay, thank you.
This is Member Broussard, and I love, Member Burton made a great point about being able to collect data after the fact. And so I'm wondering if I can request if board staff would add a paragraph in the intro to notify the schools that we will be looking for outcomes. So they're going to want to be, documenting so they can provide that to us. We can learn.
This is Rita Chang. I really think that the form finds a good balance between the detail that we want and the attempt to keep it simple. I think we need a formal a motion to amend to have an exit survey that would be created by board staff and sent. I'm a little stronger in my support for Member Burton's suggestion, and I think it should be an exit survey that the board sends out so that there's an expectation of an assessment of how things went and what hurdles they faced, what accomplishments, what different strategies might have been deployed.
Thank you, Dr. Chang. Dr. Chang, you're also next on comments. So does that conclude your comment?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay, no, you're fine. Superintendent Hoffman?
I really appreciate everyone's comments as well so far. And I also first want to thank board staff for asking my teams also to weigh in, our leadership team to weigh in on this form. So thank you for that. And I also wanted to make sure to comment that I appreciate how this form does allow for the fact that within our state, we have so many different situations for almost every community. So just to highlight some of those distinguishments from community to community, that we have some parts of the state where we have students in remote, rural areas where it's really hard for them to access even the printout packets during this time. It's a hard time. It's hard for even our education leaders who are doing their best to try to get packets to their students. That sometimes there's cases where they're having a hard time reaching families. There's many students, far too many than I would ever wish for, that don't have devices at home or that don't have Wi-Fi access. And so that's an issue that we've been collecting data on. And it's pretty devastating to see the numbers of the shortages in terms of devices at home for students to have access to online learning. So that creates a lot of challenges, even in urban areas. It's not just a rural issue. That's even in Phoenix and Tucson, where we have families without an easy way to connect. And then also, I'm thinking about even for our teachers, I know some districts have been surveying their educators to find out their connectivity at home or their skill ability. If they do, even if they have internet and a device at home, they don't necessarily have the training on how to deliver online learning. So I just think that I just wanted to make sure we're thinking about that, and I think this form does a good job of taking those factors into consideration. So I just wanted to make sure we're acknowledging that while there may be some districts, some OEAs that are that there could be a stronger accountability because maybe they have more equitable access within certain communities that are there's just such diversity across the state and such differing circumstances from community to community or from family to family or even from teacher to teacher. So I appreciate the flexibility within this form to allow for that without seeming like the state is going to be punitive later, because I think that's something I'm hearing from our school leaders, is that they're worried that they could start down an educational path of how they're delivering materials during the school closures, and that they're worried that later the state will say, no, you needed to do it a different way, or you're in trouble for not doing it a certain way. Sorry, I think someone needs to put their phone on mic.
Dr. Chang, I think you need to put your phone on mute.
Thank you. Sorry.
No, it's not me. I was on mute.
Sorry.
Thank you. Sorry, everyone. I kind of lost my train of thought. Sorry.
Superintendent Hoffman, you talked about accountability and changes.
Yes, accountability. Thank you. So yes, I think as much as we can be clear that our role as a state is that we understand these are unique circumstances, that we want to be supportive and flexible, yet while still, as much as possible, asking the field to set high expectations as much as possible within their communities. Also understanding that there's going to be some communities that are hit harder by the COVID-19. We've already heard many cases of this up in Navajo Nation that I know it was announced yesterday in the press conference that they're building emergency medical centers up in the Navajo Nation. So I think we just also need to acknowledge that even the impact of the virus itself could also impact student learning. So I want to be careful when we're using words like collecting data later or assessing later, that I think it's clear, and at least this is, and so maybe we should clarify what everyone meant in terms of the data they want to collect later, but I would hope that data collected later is more to help guide us as a state in terms of what worked, what didn't work, what supports would be more helpful, what technology is needed in the state, how can we be a support, how can we learn from this together, because I think there's going to be a lot of learning that takes place, that already has taken place. So I just want to be careful about the language we use around what we might later collect, because I know that's an area of concern for school leaders, that they don't, I know that they're doing their very best right now to provide educational learning opportunities, but they do worry about how the accountability system could change in the future. So I do think that this form does a great job of hitting that middle ground between flexibility and accountability. And that concludes my comments.
Thank you. Member Kay.
Thank you, Alicia. Just want to acknowledge board staff the work on this. Again, I agree with the comments previously made that I think this does a nice job of balancing flexibility and accountability. Regarding the concept of collecting more data and how that information might be used, I really like the idea of doing some sort of exit survey. I sort of see it as an opportunity, based on what I'm hearing, for schools to tell their story, both quantitatively and qualitatively. I have to believe that every institution, every LEA is working in earnest to deliver the best education possible, given the circumstances and based on the needs of their communities. And I see this as a real opportunity to be able to learn what we can improve upon within those individual communities as a state, what our individual schools' needs, what our student population's needs are as we work our way through this. And I do want to state, however, that this isn't, depending on what the survey looks like, the information that is collected, it could possibly be a large amount of information across the board, and we need to make sure that as a board we're taking the time to review and respond to that in the future. So thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Mack. Dr. Mack, I think your phone's still on mute. Okay, let's move to Member Ruiz.
Yeah, thank you.
Hello? Hello?
Okay, I yield. Go ahead.
Sorry.
You
yield. Okay, go ahead, Member Mack.
Okay. So I just wanted to thank the board staff for all the work. I support it in its current form. I also support a follow-up survey, mainly in the spirit of understanding that things are changing daily, weekly, things that may have started off as the plan may have changed, and that's fine, but we just want to learn from that. The other thing in terms of, people mentioned data collection, I think what's more interesting and to collect is really thinking in terms of how did LEAs and schools make the decisions that they made about the type of learning opportunities they decided to provide. So what kind of data did they look at in order to make those decisions, and not so much more in terms of that, and that really helps with the needs assessment and figuring out where things need to go perhaps in the future. But really making it more about information sharing and the spirit of coming together as a community to learn. And just really understanding that things will change from the time they submit that survey on April 15th to the end of the school year. And that whole process of what decisions they made along the way and the change adjustments that they made, that is as much, things that we can learn from as much as the final information that we get. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Ruiz?
Yeah, thank you. You know, when I looked at the attestation form, what came to mind is that what's the intent, what's the purpose here? And, the purpose is to find out, are people making an effort, they're attesting that they're making an effort to deal with a problem, an educational problem here. And so, for us, when this came about, we did analysis and we said, okay, kids are not going to be in school. Teachers are not going to be in school. How long is this going to last? Some estimates say that, this could be first wave, there could be a second wave, third wave. People don't know. And, so we can't look at the issue just in terms of here's 30 days or, 60 days. It may be 18 months where we have to look at opening schools, closing schools. And so when we did analysis, we said, how do we deal with this issue of, remote educational opportunities? And we identified two obstacles, is that a lot of our kids in our community, which is Title I, poor schools, kids don't have access to Wi-Fi and they don't have access to computers or laptops at home. And we did a survey, and we found out that 30% of our English speakers, almost 1/3 of our kids who speak English, don't have access to computers at home. And then for non-English speakers, the Spanish speakers, it was 43%. And 80% of our students' homes or parents' homes, they had access to phone, Wi-Fi through phone. So then I did a calculation. So if we just extrapolate the numbers and apply it statewide, we have approximately 1,100 students in Arizona. And out of that, if you just say that there's, in our case, 33% of our kids don't have access to Wi-Fi or computers, then that's about 170,000 kids in Arizona who are not going to have access to remote educational opportunities. Now, I've heard people say, well, you can do packets, and that's good. But in our case, when we send packets home, parents, 43% Spanish speakers, parents are going, well, how am I going to teach my kid? I'm the teacher now, and I don't have access to a computer. I don't have access to Wi-Fi, so I can't even call the teacher. I can't call the school. And so parents are now ill-prepared to teach their kids at home. We've lost, for this year, about 33% of instructional days. And the effects of this, having lost 1/3 of the school year, it's going to be long-term. It's going to be a compounded problem. What we found out is that kids who are from K to 3, if you're 1 or 2 grade levels behind, it's going to catch up. It's going to take from 3 to 5 years for kids to catch up. This year is almost 1/3 of the years it's lost. With the inability to have access to Wi-Fi and computers at home, the problem is compounded for poor students, especially students from rural areas, Latinos, from reservations, and from Native American groups. And so then we've got a problem that is out there. 170,000 kids who won't have access to really an adequate long-distance remote educational opportunity. Now, the governor recently set up some sort of fund in the Arizona Commerce Authority, and one of their goals was to deal with this issue. I know we're going to have federal stimulus dollars that flow into the state, and in that particular, the Arizona Commerce Authority, they had point number 3 was to provide more Wi-Fi and computers to students at home. I would hope that the business community would step up and offer free Wi-Fi in these times. They could work with Title I schools where you have codes, kids have access. It's a time to be innovative. I'm collecting all the information we need to, but there's a problem right now. And if we don't deal with this, we don't know how long this problem is going to be. It may be an 18-month problem. It may be less. I would hope it would be less, but it could be longer. And if we don't deal with this, if we don't start looking at this now, I think the repercussions are going to stay with us for the next 4 to 5 years. We're going to then go back to grading A to F, and it'll take 3 to 5 years to make up for this lost time of instruction and the lost opportunity to provide really equal education for poor families.
Thank you, Member Ruiz. Member Wellborn?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
First of all, I would like to say thank you, Member Ruiz, because you very well articulated a lot of the issues that we're facing at Empower College Prep. The digital divide has been a big issue. It's been kind of a quiet issue that's been ignored for a while. Now this crisis has brought it to the front. And while it's a good initiative to try and get information from different schools and survey them as to what they're doing and what works, I would suggest that's sort of a secondary or a tertiary issue. The first issue is we need to level the playing field here. We need to give access to every one of our students, and we should work together to make that happen. I also want to thank the staff for putting together this form in such a quick time. I've really been impressed today with hearing all the innovative work that's going on at different schools and the passion and commitment that schools and teachers have had to meet this challenge on a very short order. So I think that that's been their high priority for the first couple of weeks of this. And so I know that they're still working on how to improve remote learning. So I think the form has that balance of flexibility and accountability that it needs. And I believe that we're meeting our commitment as required by the legislation. So I will support approving this form. But I would also like to ask that we get clarification from the legislature regarding the consequences if the form is not returned or submitted. You know, we know all too well from the tardy responses on the Mauer literary plans that some schools are very late in submitting the form. And we don't really know what all the reasons are for that. But I believe the interest of the whole, this clause in the legislation, the fact that it's called an attestation, was to remind schools of their obligation to continue serving and providing educational services in this time and to not slack off. You know, heaven forbid, I think we've heard mostly great stories and wonderful stories about people going over and beyond. But I think the impetus behind this was the legislature wanted some accountability to make sure that schools were meeting the obligation. And they delegated the responsibility of creating a form to the state board. So we're doing that. But there is no direction on what we should do if forms are not returned.
Thank you, Member Wellborn. Dr. Kaur.
Yes, thank you. I am supportive of the form. I think it absolutely threads the needle between balancing accountability and allowing flexibility. So if I might, I would offer perhaps a skinny motion that accepts the form as is, while noting previous comments calling for a collection of best practices, if you will, as we work our way through this.
Dr. Kaur, President Narducci and Dr. Kaur, if I could interrupt for a second. Could we just have a little bit of clarification, or at least let me allow for myself to tell the board members what I heard from the board members if you were to adjust the motion in this way for a, I think Dr. Chang called it an exit survey. Member Burton had called it another report. But what I heard is
Director Williams, before you go on, I just want to make a couple comments.
Sure.
If I could.
Yes.
First off, I appreciate all the comments that have been provided in this regard. And I think that Superintendent Hoffman and I are on the exact same page. Our state is different all over, and we will be impacted differently all over. And I think the intent is to be as open, liberal as possible with the approach that every LEA and charter school needs to take in order to achieve what they can in these times. I don't think that the legislature wants standards from us, expectations from us. They want everybody to do the best job that they can in providing to the children that they need to provide to in these times of need. And it will vary across the state. And with that, I think the attestation form as is a very good form because I think it accomplishes what we need to at this time. And then I also think that the exit survey is a very good thing for us, and I'll call it an exit survey without consequence, because the information is going to be useful to us as a board and ADE to assess future efforts of any type throughout the state. And so I think it'll be a good information gathering process. But in no way would I support any consequences to an exit survey. And I do think that what we could do is maybe ask staff to provide some type of exit survey for us to review at the next meeting, and put some language together in that regard, exit survey without consequence, and then maybe even just approve the form as it is today. This way we can move on. Those are my thoughts.
President Narducci, Director Williams. This is
Yes,
Rita.
Go ahead.
I was the first to use the term exit survey, and I just want to clarify that in my mind, I was thinking of it as we got through this. We need to appreciate each other. We need to, in some ways, celebrate that we got through, and use this to reflect on the challenges, the accomplishments, the different strategies employed, and in that way we can learn from this. And I'm sure there are things that we will learn from this and put in place to better address the next challenge that comes our way, hopefully not this significant.
President Narducci, Alicia, this is Daniel.
Go ahead.
Thank you. And thank you for those comments, Rita. I think that's the sentiment, or President Chang, that's the sentiment we were heading towards, which is why I referred to the term of a collection of best practices. So we can learn from this. What worked well, what can we share across the state in these trying circumstances that will help us perhaps replicate in better times, or at least be prepared for something similar in the future. And my comment regarding a skinny motion was just playing off the budget and saying what I would like to do is offer a motion to accept the form as is, so we can in fact move on with the understanding that we'll try to collect best practices sometime in the future.
With that, thank you for the additional comments. We do have a motion now from Dr. Kaur. We'll have a second.
This is Member K. Go ahead, Cal.
Sorry.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Can we have a roll call vote?
Yes, one moment.
Thank you.
Okay, Member Broussard?
Aye.
Member Burton?
Aye, but I'd like to comment that the exit survey, which is the term I actually prefer, was not intended to be punitive, and I would like to ask if we're looking to punish any district, but I think it is important to inform us where these gaps are. So with that, I vote aye.
Hold on one second. I think the live stream just went off, so we're just going to pause the meeting for a second. Okay, it seems to be back on. Let me just double check here. Okay, we're good with live stream, so we can continue. Thank you, Member Burton. Member Burton, what was your vote again?
Aye.
Thank you. Dr. Chang?
Aye.
Thank you. Superintendent Hoffman?
Aye, and just thanks to everyone for the thoughtful conversation.
Member Kay?
Yes, and I'd also like to just clarify my comments are definitely along the lines of support and learning opportunities and really finding the bright spots in all of this. And when I commented about taking the time, I just, again, want to make sure that future agendas, once we do have that data, that as a board, we take the time to work through that information and see what additional changes or opportunities we have within the information. So yes, thank you.
Dr. Mack. Dr. Mack, your vote, please.
Yes.
Member Ruiz.
Aye.
Member Wellborn. Member Wellborn, your vote, please.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Member Baker.
Yes.
Dr. Kaur.
Yes.
President Narducci.
Yes.
Motion passes 11-0.
Thank you very much, and thanks everybody for the discussion. We move on to item 3C in our agenda, which is the presentation, discussion, and possible action to hold schools harmless in the 2019-2020 school year regarding the A through F accountability system. Director Williams.
Okay, thank you, President Narducci. I'm going to pass this over to Deputy Director Baden.
Thank you, President Narducci, Superintendent Hoffman, and members. This item, number 3C, is again a direct result of House Bill 2910 that was signed by the governor. Specifically, that legislation stated that in the event of a closure beyond March 29th, which was our original closure date, that the school's 2019-2020 letter grades, so their current school letter grades, would be their letter grades from the previous year, which was 2018-2019. The legislation is pretty straightforward and pretty simple and doesn't require a lot of other action from us other than to affirm that and make sure schools have some certainty as to what we're doing. The only thing that I will add is that the legislation was not specific on what happens to that statute that we had to deal with for the first time this past year that requires schools that receive 3 consecutive Ds to receive a letter grade of an F unless they go through that appeals process that we set up. We were asked about that and gave our commitment that based on the intent of the legislation and the circumstances, it would not make sense to enforce that statute. And so the item in motion in front of you here today is to affirm what the legislature did and ensure that the letter grades for the 1920 year are the same as the letter grades they received in the 1819 school year, and to clarify and for everyone that the board will not be enforcing and not be holding to that statute that has 3 consecutive Ds equaling an F. And so with that, I am happy to answer any questions. Or
Thank you, Deputy. No, that's great. Thank you, Deputy Director Baden. As you said, it's very straightforward. Thanks for the explanation. And actually, thank you so much for all this hard work that all you guys have been doing. Appreciate it so much. We can rather than going through a roll voice on this one, since it is straightforward and just confirming and adopting the legislation, I'd like to move forward with a motion unless there's discussion from anybody or a question. Okay, hearing none, do I have a motion to adopt the 2018 through 2019 A through F letter grades and exempt schools from ARS 15-241.01D for the 2019, let me do this again. For the 2019 and 2020 school year. That made more sense to me. Do I have a motion?
This is Member K.
Member
So
Baker,
moved.
Oh, Member K?
Yes. So moved.
We have a motion from Member K. Do I have a second?
This is Member Burton. I'll second.
We have a second. All in favor? I'm sorry. Let's do a roll call vote again. Sorry, Alicia. Let's do the roll call vote.
Member Baker,
Yes.
Member Broussard,
Yes.
Dr. Chang, Dr. Chang, your vote, please.
Yes.
Thank you. Superintendent Hoffman,
Yes.
Dr. Mack, Dr. Mack,
Yes.
your vote, please. Thank you.
Yes.
Member Ruiz,
Aye.
Member Wellborn,
Yes.
Dr. Kaur,
Yes.
Member Burton,
Yes.
Member Kay,
Yes.
President Narducci.
Yes.
Motion passes 11-0.
Thank you very much. We will move on to item 3D, which is the presentation, discussion, and possible action to approve the Arizona Department of Education's federal waiver request. Director Williams.
President Narducci, Superintendent Hoffman, members of the board. Item 3D is again in response to House Bill 2910, which requires the board to approve the federal waiver request submitted by the Arizona Department of Education to the federal government, including waivers regarding assessment, accountability, and food nutrition. The U.S. Department of Education has invited states to submit waivers to statewide testing and accountability requirements. Additionally, the U.S. Department of Ed has provided a streamlined waiver template for states to use. If states use this waiver and make no changes, the U.S. Department of Education indicated it will provide a determination within 24 hours. So that waiver is attached to this agenda item. I strongly suggest that we do not make any adjustments to this waiver because we do want the U.S. Department of Ed to approve this within 24 hours of submitting it. So if there's no discussion, President Narducci, then I would recommend a motion on this item.
Thank you, Director Williams, and we will take your recommendation. Do I have a motion to approve the Arizona Department of Education's federal waiver request?
This is Member Broussard. So moved.
Thank you, Member Broussard. Do I have a second?
This is Member K. Second.
Thank you, Member Kay. Let's go with a roll call vote, Alicia. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Baker,
Yes.
Member Burton,
Yes.
Dr. Chang,
Yes.
Superintendent Hoffman,
Yes.
Dr. Mack,
Yes.
Member Ruiz,
Aye.
Member Wellborn,
Yes.
Dr. Kaur,
Yes.
Member Kay,
Yes.
Member Broussard, Member Broussard, your vote, please.
Sorry, I said yes.
Thank you. President Narducci.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 11-0.
Thank you, Director Williams. We'll move on to item 3E, which is approval of the recommendations regarding Arizona online instruction applications pursuant to ARS 15-808. Director Williams.
Thank you, President Narducci, Superintendent Hoffman, members of the board. Item 3E is the approval of Arizona online instruction applications for district schools. As you recall, the board is charged with approving the Arizona online instruction applications for district schools, and we opened the 2021 school year window in August of 19. Typically, the State Board of Education approves applications at its March meeting, but as you all are aware, we canceled the March State Board of Education meeting. So we did have some schools reach out to us and say, hey, look, we're ready to go with our AOI because of school closures. Can we please request that the board approve us for this year instead of waiting until August to provide these online instruction opportunities for their students? So with that, board staff recommends the Alhambra Elementary School District, Chinle Unified School District, Coconino County Accommodation School District, J.O. Combs Unified School District, and Maricopa Unified School District be approved, their AOIs be approved for the 1920 school year. And with that, I can take any questions or you can move a motion.
Thank you, Director Williams. Board, do we have any questions? Okay, hearing none. Do I have a motion to approve the recommendations as listed regarding Arizona online instruction applications and approve the AOIs for the 2019-2020 school year?
This is Daniel. I move approval.
Thank you, Dr. Kaur. Do I have a second?
This is Rita. I second.
Thank you, Dr. Chang. With that, we'll have a roll call vote, please,
Yes.
Director Williams.
Thank you. Member Baker?
Yes.
Member Broussard?
Yes.
Member Burton?
Yes.
Superintendent Hoffman?
Yes.
Member Kay?
Yes?
Dr. Mack?
Yes.
Member Ruiz?
Aye.
Member Wellborn?
Yes.
Dr. Chang?
Yes.
Dr. Kaur?
Yes.
President Narducci?
Yes.
Motion passes 11-0.
Thank you very much, Director Williams, and thank you, board members. And very much appreciate how this discussion and process went and for all of your time. We'll move on to agenda item number 4, which is the summary of current events. Director Williams, anything to add?
I do actually. So President Narducci, Superintendent Hoffman, members of the board, and members of the public. Board staff is currently trying to utilize Zoom so that we will not have to cancel our April board meeting. And so we will continue to work on creating some standard operating procedures for Zoom. We will reach out to board members individually to train them on Zoom, and then we will ensure that there's plentiful access to the public for our board meeting in April. In addition, I just want to also clarify for the public and board members that board staff will compile the information that was shared today at today's board meeting, and we will put that in our highlights of board action, which can always be found on our State Board of Education website within 24 hours of the board meeting. We will also push out the notification for the attestation form, as well as the new rules for graduation, so that schools have a sense of confidence that those two things are taken care of. Lastly, in regard to item 3B in the motion with 3B and the attestation form, board staff, I will ask board staff to start getting to work on that exit survey, and we'll bring it back to the board at the April meeting for comment from board members. So we'll work with the field and ADE for that form as well. So with that, that's all I have. I hope everyone's staying safe and healthy, and I appreciate everyone's patience, including the public today, as we try to run a State Board of Education meeting completely virtual. So thank you very much.
And Director Williams, thank you so much. We very much appreciate it. And on behalf of the Arizona State Board of Education, we want to extend our appreciation to all Arizona educators, their students, their parents, and for all your understanding, cooperation during these times. And we'll just end with to all, stay home, stay healthy, and stay connected. And thank you very much. And we'll adjourn our meeting at 12:07.
Thank you very much.
Everybody stay safe.
We'll see you, everyone. Be well.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.